This is a photo from Wanda near Cronulla, and there are little tiny people out on the horizon line. So I'm going to be doing a couple of things to start, and that is firstly, make some changes. I've got a big black marker here so you can see the changes I'm about to make. I'm Marion Chapman and welcome to my channel, just in case you're new here. Firstly, I don't want this shape here to be rectangular, so I'm going to be changing it so that it is far more of a triangle. The horizon line is incredibly tiny, so I'm going to be making, I'm going to put a line there to remind myself, increase the amount of sky. Sky is so easy to paint. And I love putting it in, which means that those people will come down and be on the horizon line here. And they'll kind of look a little bit like little strokes at the end. This guy here is sitting in the water. So now I've got a triangle this way, and it had some natural, beautiful, triangular frothy bits here. So I'm going to invent them there. Put them like that, and then I've got a big triangle, a small triangle. Oh, this wave here is wonderful, so I might make it more like a triangle, and it can come across like that. And then this wave is a big lovely white bit that goes like that, and then there's some spray. So I'm just going to write this in because that will remind me to splatter some lovely, white gouache or something like that. It could be white, anything, as long as it's white. Now, there was a natural extra triangle here, so I'm going to put that one in as well, just a little triangular shape. And then I'm going to use salt in the foreground. So that's pretty much my plan. This beautiful sand is the colour of raw sienna, and it's got a real warmth to it. So I'm going to use a bit of quinacridone gold and a bit of raw sienna. I'm going to get this enormous brush and use it to wet the foreground. I'm working on a block, so I don't have to worry about taping my page down. And I'm just going to wet gently up to where the water will finish, and then it turns to that beautiful green. I'm switching to my black gold quill. I'm going to put in some of this beautiful gold in the foreground, and then straight into my quin gold. Put that into the mix and put some here. And then go into the raw sienna, which is going to look way more like a earthy, sandy colour. Raw sienna, and put that up to the landscape. I'm going to put the salt straight on. It's beautiful and wet at the moment. I just want some lovely texture in the foreground here. Maybe I'll put a little bit there as well. Oh, I can't resist one over there. Oh, you can see them doing their job already. Now I want this to go like that. That's going to all be sand. And then I'm going to use a tissue. Now, usually this method is wonderful for clouds, but I've got all this foam, so I'm going to see if I can use a tissue instead to remove the whites. There's a big batch of white there. Another clean tissue. And then I'm going to muck it out like, lift it out like I would clouds. It's kind of random there. And then see if I can make this line happen along this way. Just keep turning my tissue till I get a clean edge that absorbs. I'm leaving little bits of tissue because I'm not turning it over enough. Okay, and my foreground is done. I'm going to put in a lovely sky and come down, and then I'll put the water in last. I need to remember that this is where the beautiful splashy wave is here, so I need to keep that really white. And now I'm going to put in some blue and then some bluey green for the water. Okay, there's my cobalt for the sky. And then into that blue, I'm going to transfer some to here, maybe get a little more. Oh, what kind of a green do I get if I add quinacridone gold? Yum! The sky, I put in a little bit of water that goes all completely to the edges. And put in a blue sky. I'm just being soft with it. I like the idea there might be some suggestions of cloud, so I'm just leaving little white bits. This will have to be lovely and straight later, but I won't worry about it for now. Then I'm going to come in with the green. Oh boy, that's lovely. Ooh, I wonder if I can leave that there. More green for that wave that's coming here, and then we want to come forward into this area here. I'm going to get a little more raw sienna to wash in at this section, which is quite cool because it actually in the photograph does get a little darker over there, so I like that. It's dried a little bit, and now I'm going to use some tape to establish the horizon line. I want the horizon line to be beautifully horizontal. So I'm going to use this. The spray will come up over there. This is quite lovely, this edge. I don't want to be too wet because it will creep under the tape. And my paper's not 100% dry. Make this darker in the corner. And then I'm not putting too much paint. Yeah, I like that. Darker again in the corner. I'm going to add some really thicker version in the corner. Come down, a little bit more water, be light there, push that around, go darker in this corner. Right, I'm going to take that straight off. I know it's wet and a bit risky, but because it's not 100% dry, I think it's worth taking off right now. It's got a beautiful flat horizon. There's a little bit of variation in line there, but it's not a problem at all. I'm going to start with a white pencil to see if I can get some lovely white marks in there. I love the idea of trying to keep the painting all in watercolour, so that's why I'm going for a white pencil to start. Doing little scrubby marks. This comes down and tumbles down into here. It's kind of giving me an opportunity to draw in what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to put the lid back on my palette and get a little white. This is white gouache. Squeeze some out. Okay, I've got some white gouache and a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm going to be painting in the tip of this wave. It goes all over the place. It appears a line at first, but when you begin painting it, you realise that it goes in a whole range of directions. So I'm trying to use my brush to indicate that. That is practically a line, and some of the lines are thicker than others. So sometimes gouache requires a second application. We've got big, I'm going to do it in like circles, but circles that all join. There's this beautiful shadow at the bottom that I'm going to put in shortly. This is already white, so I don't need to paint it. There's a lovely spray that goes high here. And then it goes low, goes along here, and then the spray goes right up. A toothbrush, just wet it a little, massage that in. I always keep the white gouache separate to my palette. It's an opaque medium, and I want it to spray up here. Spray it in this direction, and it might look like it's going upwards. Yeah, oh, that's great. There we go. Now there's a little more spray along here, so I'll put in a little bit more. It's lovely. And then I think I'll put in some here as well. Lovely white sparkly bits. And then I will invent some that's above this. There. Lovely. Oh, the sky's wet, so it's going to make some beautiful marks. Cobalt with a little bit of burnt sienna. And what I'm going to do with it is stare really carefully at the photograph, because there's this beautiful shadow all along there. A little bit of water on my brush to just soften that all up. Soften, soften, soften. I don't want a dark, hard line. I just want that little bit of shadow under it. Beautiful shadow in here and right underneath this little line there. And again, I'm just going to soften that. And in the middle of that, blue and green, it's a bit of both. It's even got some sandy colour in it because it's washing sand up. Raw sienna because it's grabbing all this sand, pushing it up into the wave. Soften all of that. I'm really happy with what the salt has done in the foreground. I'm going to get a tissue and remove it now. It's getting in the way of my arm all the time. And just suggest a little line in the sand, so to speak. Put that like that. And that little line can indicate where the wave comes to, along like that. I want it to be a little more triangular. So it's a little bit like a shadow for it. Don't want to do too, that was a bit too far. It's starting to dry on my end one there. And then there's one that goes that way, so not so brown, a little bit, and I'll go a little lighter. So this one's going to come this way, like that. Soften that one off again. So I'm making it a continuous line that I'm softening, but the paint is dotted along. All right, that's good. I've interrupted them nicely. They might be a rock pool, they might not. I'm going to grab a little of the greeny browny colour, put little what might be shadowy colours in the kind of rock poolish things that I've got going there. And again, soften, 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 soften. Oh, I like that. Put it down here as well, I think. It's a little bit crude. It's not exactly what I wanted. I'm not sure it looks like a wave, but I'm going to forge ahead anyway because I want to get these little surfers in, and it is too wet to put them in. It's a little bit damp. I think I'm going to go ahead and put them in. I'm going to use my liner brush again, and that grey. Little figures that are on the horizon, and they're just going to be bending, and there might be a boat. Oops, that didn't work. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, that's better. I'm going to give him a head like that. And then do another one, go to the bluey grey. There's another one that's over here and he's facing this way, so I'm going to give him a little body that is bent again, little body, little head, and he's going to have a board that is yellow. That's better. Give him a yellow head then. So I think this guy was like surfing, but this guy was pretty much standing up on a windsurfer. Not a windsurfer, one of those things called where you stand on the board. And then there's one sitting in the surf. So that's the horizon line, and if they're sitting in the surf, they're just a bit below there. Oops, too big again. Get rid of some of the mark. That's okay. And I'll give this one a head. Little dark head. Little head. Head. This one can have a head. Okay, what do they look like? Odd little things off in the distance. Right, this needs to be fixed. So I'm going to do that with my flat brush. I'm going to create a mark underneath here. He's been doing lots of jobs. What jobs has he been doing outside?
He?
Yeah, I can hear him. He's, I think he's got one of those outdoor vacuum cleaners. Is that what you can hear? He's very busy. Tell me about your painting.